Chasing the rabbit, down we must go. Where does it end? Nobody knows. Hurry up now.
Welcome back to Norse and Wonderland, where we chase the rabbits through the darkness to uncover truths that haunt our dreams. The Cleveland Butcher, because apparently Ohio didn't already have enough problems. Imagine living in Cleveland during the butcher killings and thinking, great, now I have to worry about this on top of everything else. The only thing scarier than the Cleveland Butcher is Cleveland's housing market. Today's rabbit hole takes us to Depression-era Cleveland, a city on its knees and a killer who preyed on those nobody cared to protect. What if I told you America had its own Jack the Ripper? Between 1934 and 1938, Cleveland, Ohio was terrorized by a butcher. He targeted the poorest, the voiceless, the forgotten. His calling card, brutal dismemberment and decapitation. He became known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run, or the Cleveland Torso Murderer. Kingsbury Run was a ravine cutting through Cleveland's east side, rail yards, industrial waste, and shanty towns built from scrap. Homeless men, sex workers, petty criminals, this was a place society ignored, and it was here that the butcher hunted. In September 1934, a young man found the lower half of a woman's torso washed up on Lake Erie's shore. Her skin had been treated with a chemical preservative, turning it reddish and tough like leather. She was never identified. They called her the Lady of the Lake. Over the next 4 years, body after body was discovered, decapitated, limbs severed, often drained of blood, some burned or chemically treated. The victims had two things in common. They were vulnerable, and they were mutilated beyond recognition. One male victim, dubbed the Tattooed Man, was identified only by his tattoos, his head never found. Women were often decapitated and bisected. Some torsos were neatly cut between vertebrae, indicating anatomical knowledge. By 1938, 12 official victims had been found. The city was in terror. Enter Eliot Ness, famous for bringing down Al Capone. He became Cleveland's safety director and waged an aggressive campaign, raiding shanty towns, burning makeshift homes to the ground, and rounding up and interrogating hundreds of transients. But the killings continued. Then, in a move straight from a horror film, the killer left two decapitated victims in plain view within sight of Ness's office window, a direct taunt. One suspect stood out, Dr. Francis E. Sweeney. He was a brilliant but troubled surgeon who struggled with alcoholism and mental instability. He failed a polygraph unless sedated and committed himself to a mental hospital soon after questioning. Some believe Ness privately identified him as the killer but lacked enough evidence to prosecute and feared political fallout due to Sweeney's family connections. What kind of person commits such calculated horrors? Psychologists suggest severe psychopathy and sadism, possible delusions or sexual gratification from mutilation, and comfort with anatomical dissection indicating medical training or a butcher's background. But there was also an element of performance. The killer displayed bodies to be found, taunted the city, and created terror as part of his ritual. Before we conclude, let's explore a chilling question. Could the Cleveland Butcher have been Jack the Ripper? At first glance, the similarities are haunting. Both targeted the poor and vulnerable, both dismembered their victims with anatomical precision, and both left behind haunting mysteries with identities never confirmed. But let's look at the timeline. Jack the Ripper's murders took place in London in 1888. The Cleveland Butcher operated in Ohio from 1934 to 1938. That's nearly half a century apart. Even if Jack the Ripper was only 25 in 1888, he would have been in his 70s during the Cleveland killings, an age unlikely for someone committing murders requiring strength to decapitate and carry bodies. Yet some theorists argue, what if Jack the Ripper didn't stop and just moved? After all, several Ripper suspects immigrated to the United States after 1888, though none were directly linked to these later killings. Others believe it wasn't the same man, but the same monster in a different form. A killer inspired by the Ripper's legend. Someone who wanted to instill fear and notoriety in his own city by replicating the horror across the ocean. Because terror never dies. It just finds a new host. Did Eliot Ness suppress final evidence to protect Cleveland's reputation and his own career? Were powerful families protecting Dr. Sweeney? Why did police files and coroner's notes later disappear from archives? To this day, the identity of the Mad Butcher remains unknown. The Cleveland Torso Murder inspired novels like Kingsbury Run, films and documentaries exploring America's forgotten Ripper, urban legends about a doctor gone mad in the shadows of the Great Depression. The butcher remains a ghost in American crime history. His victims, mostly unnamed, never received justice. Their killer likely died without ever facing punishment. Reflection questions. Why do you think some killers remain uncaught while others are swiftly identified? What does society's neglect of the poor and voiceless tell us about our values? How does fear of the unknown shape our perception of safety? Today's affirmation. I honor those who were forgotten. I choose to see the unseen and give voice to the voiceless. Next time, we uncover another shadowy chapter of history. Until then, remember, Norse and Wonderland, where the truth will haunt your dreams. Stay curious.